Thank you for tuning in to Women of Fruit Magazine. I am Vonnie Judge. I'm excited that you have joined us today. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a disease that has affected more than 30,000 adults and children in the U.S. and over 70,000 people nationwide. And there's no federal funding to help to cure, to to facilitate any type of treatment for this disease. It is called cystic fibrosis. And I have a young lady who has a son who just recently died due to getting a lung transplant. And I'm just excited to hear some of your story, just because I know it's going to help people as they may not recognize the symptoms or not recognize the impact that it has on families today. So I'm excited to be here with Alana, and she is the mother of Tripp, and she has an organization called Lungs for Life, where she has started this organization in order to help fundraise to save her son's life. So how are you doing, Alana?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So I know I met you a while ago, and I feel like our relationship has came full circle. When I first met you, I was we were doing television. We were actually interviewing at the same station, and that's when I met your son. And when I met him, he was just like a regular kid.
Yep.
Didn't know whether or not he was ill or anything like that until he actually went to interview. He was just full of life. He had ambition. And so to be here now with you, like I said, is really full circle for me. So tell people a little bit, how do you describe Tripp?
Tripp is the life of the party. He very inspirational. He lived his entire life with cystic fibrosis. He was diagnosed before he was even born.
Wow.
And being sick from a young age of 3, the first time he was hospitalized, he never let the disease define him. He was always there to have a good time, enjoy life, live it to the fullest, and help anybody that he could in the process.
It is awesome, because one thing I have to say about him, and as I was looking through some of his pictures and different things, he was a child who understood, just like how we all understand, that one day we're going to leave this wonderful earth, but to enjoy it, to enjoy every moment of it. And I see him doing more smiling, and then anyone, it seemed like he was full of life.
Yes, definitely.
And so how do you go from the fact that, he knew that he was going to pass, and even at the age of 3, and I think that even your daughter, she had something similar.
She has the same disease.
Yes. And and hers was successful as far as getting the lung.
She hasn't had one yet.
No.
Cystic fibrosis is a very strange disease. I call it the tornado disease. They have the exact same genes, which means they have the exact same mutation of the disease. However, it acts differently in both of them. So she's actually fairly healthy.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't. So she's still doing well. I mean, she will go down that same path. It'll be her choice later on as to whether or not she wants to follow in his footsteps and attempt a double lung transplant, or if she will just let the disease run its course. That'll be a choice she'll have to make.
Wow. For whatever reason, I just thought that, because she is healthy, and I knew that the fact that maybe because you knew that he was going to have it, before he was born, that was one of the reasons that encouraged you to move forward, is like, but it is great, because God is at the end of the day, He is in control, and I think that just him being here and how he was such a gift to everyone he met, to me, is like, I was very impressed with him, meeting him. And so he just has such an aura about himself that it demanded attention. It really did. And I just remember meeting him that day, and like I said, so tell us a little bit about as far as his journey. I know that he, like you said, at 3, he kind of like struggled, but then when it started really, I know, because he had his ups and downs and it was turnaround. So let people know like a little bit about, how did he manage and deal with
His journey really started to get rough when he started high school. He basically got to the point where he was in the hospital for 2 weeks and out for a month, and then in and out. But that really was a choice he made, because he could have probably stayed out of the hospital a little more, but he insisted on living life and being in the band and trying to play lacrosse and doing those things, which I feel was the right choice that he made. But in 2011, right after he graduated from high school in 2010, we went for an appointment in February, and they basically told him that his lung function was less than 30%, which UNI is about 110, and that a lung transplant was probably his only option. So at that point in time, he began this treacherous, in my opinion, path of testing to be accepted onto a transplant list, which is not an easy feat. And for someone so young, the tests that they put them through, they're grueling, and it's 3 weeks of just nonstop testing. He did that, and then unfortunately, the first hospital here in Charleston turned him down, felt he was too high risk for their program.
Wow.
So we went to the Mayo Clinic in Florida, and he had to completely redo all of the tests, even though he had just done them. But he went through the process, and it took him a while to get on the list, but so he began with them in September of 2011, and he actually got, or 11, I'm sorry, and he got on the list February 19th, 2013.
Wow.
And it was a long road for him, but he did it all with a smile. And he had his moments where he wasn't sure if it was the path he wanted to go down. And so we just would have our conversations. Just make up your mind, because either we're going to go to transplant and we're going to live by the book that we have to, or if that's not the way you want to go, let's go live up life.
Right.
So he kind of got to do both of them.
That's really good, because I know, like, you know, those last days, I know that I remember seeing it on the Facebook posting when you, I think when you originally had the news that he actually got the lungs that he needed to survive. And so it was kind of devastating to find, you know, it didn't go as well as far as the surgery. So let us know, like, how was that, you know, as far as what happened? And yeah.
Basically, they did get a donor. They called him on the 7th, and he had a donor. When they flew to retrieve the lungs, they had already taken the lungs out and were packing them up to send them to Florida from South Carolina. And they noticed a spot on the kidney. And the donor, they tested it, but they went ahead and brought the lungs on the way back. They had already opened Tripp up, had already put him on a heart-lung bypass when they found out that spot on the kidney was cancer, so they couldn't give him the lungs.
Wow.
So they closed him back up, they put him on a ventilator, and he waited for another donor. And unfortunately, one just didn't come before his body gave out. And then it was 13 days. I call it my 13 days of grace, because the gifts that were given to me during that time are amazing. But they came to me and told me, which was my one thing, if at any point in time he can't survive transplant, let me know, because I don't want to keep him here. And so on the 13th day, they said that nothing was working. He couldn't survive, so we had to make the decision to let his soul free. So that's what we did.
So was he aware that during that time, like, he was going to be free? Or was he like...
I think so. He was in a medical induced coma.
Right.
However, on the Saturday prior to his passing on Monday, I think, he opened his eyes for absolutely no reason. And for every 2 hours, when they touched him, did anything to him, he would wake up and he could communicate with me by blinking his eyes and squeezing hands. And I believe that was him trying to say, Mom, it's time. I'm okay, but it's time. And the funny thing is on Sunday, I was getting ready to just go take a shower, because I hadn't taken a shower in days. I'd been at the hospital. And he woke up as I was getting ready to leave, and so I asked him 3 questions. I said, do you know that I love you? And he shook his head, yes. I said, do you love me? He shook his head, yes. And I said, are you okay? And he shook his head, no. And I must have turned around in circles trying to decide if I should stay or go for 5 minutes. But then I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go take a shower. I'll be back in 40 minutes. When I got back, his lungs had collapsed and he never opened his eyes again, which I feel was a blessing for me. Because if he had opened his eyes, there's no way I could have made the decision that I had to make. So I think he knew what was going on. I think he knew what I needed, and I think he was helping me.
Yes.
So
That is so, it's chills just came through my, because I know how that is. It's like, you know, when you're in that situation where you really just want the best, you know, and, you know, he lived the best life that he can possibly live. And it's like where you have a life of no regrets. You know, he felt like, you know, I'm not saying that he didn't have more, but he just felt, you know, I can be at peace about this.
And he was definitely, right before he got the call, he had put everything in order, his relationships in order. And it's just funny at age 21 to watch that process, because, you know, if you read and research on near death, when people are approaching that and what people do, it's like his soul knew. His soul knew that he was going to be leaving and that it wasn't going to work. And he made sure that he had peace in his heart and that the people he was leaving behind had peace in their heart. So
that's good. Because
so.
So one of the things I know that, you know, your family's really close knit in your daughter. How did she, or how did she feel in regards, because like you said, eventually she's going to have to decide similar faith, you know, whether or not, if it's the transplant or if she's going to live. How do your family now?
It's tough. She's pulling herself together. She wants to live for him now, because I happened to get to read the Facebook messages and text messages the night before he got his call between the two of them, where she promised to do the best that she could do and to make him proud. And so it's very tough because they were so close and they lived their entire life doing all of their therapies and all of this stuff together. But she's picking up the pieces and finishing school like he would have wanted her to do. And I think that she'll make whatever decision's right for her in regards to her health when that time comes.
That's good. That is good. It is so heart-wrenching because, like I said, I've never lost a child. But one of the things that I know that I will love for the gift that I feel like I want to give my child is the gift of life, and that he has, and that they live it to the best of their ability. And one thing I have to say about your son, even with your daughter, they live it, because I know you live it, and you're such a great example for that. And the fact that, you know, he is gone, yet you still continue to keep his memory alive. You continue to, you know, with the Lungs for Life, you still bring awareness of this disease. And so I just commend you on the job that you're doing in the community, bringing awareness, and just for your family, just being that example.
Well, thank you.
Yes, because I know you inspire me. You really do. Oh. Yes, yes, you do. So I know that you're going to inspire many other mothers, because it may not be this particular disease. It may be something else that your child may be struggling with, but just to be there and show up and to allow them to live a life that is not defined by the limitations that they're giving in life. And so that's why I'm just really thrilled and excited about you sharing your story and having the opportunity to meet such an amazing young man, because he commanded a room. I was like, who is this guy? and so just to hear his journey, you know, and to continue to hear it through, you know, your works is a blessing.
Thank you.
Well, I thank you so much for being here. Let everyone know about how to, to log into the Lungs for Life and how to get involved. And
Okay, yeah, you can just go to www.lungs, L-U-N-G-S for the number, life, L-I-F-E.com. We're kind of quiet right now. We're trying to get ourselves back together with all of the, we were just passing the 1 year, so we definitely will be doing some things in the future. We've just done a few races and things to raise awareness and do things in memory of Tripp and in honor of Jess. And we train a few other people at our gym that have the same disease, so we really want to try to help them as well. So if you have any interest, please look at Lungs for Life and see what we're doing and join us.
that is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your son's story. Thank you.
Very welcome.